There is only one thing that stands in your way. What do you do with the thing that stands in your way? Destroy it.
Very few video games have come out in the past decade that have impressed me as much as Dusk has. I was unexpectedly surprised by the majesty this game holds. Dusk is a beautiful achievement of gaming, and is an absolute masterclass in FPS design. This game is perfect on all levels. I know that I love Dusk to death, but I'm not entirely sure why, which is why I'm making this video, to let you all know I love this game, but also finding out why I myself love the game. After playing Dusk through a few times, I came to the realization that this game might be the best I've ever played in my entire life. After all the video games I've played in the past 13 years of my life, Dusk came along to knock every game I'd played before Dusk out of the park. Fuck Dark Souls 3 being the game of the decade. Let's talk about the game with no flaws at all. When I first picked up Dusk back in late 2019, my laptop could barely run it at a stable frame rate, but I didn't care. The game is just too good. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Skeptical Rowan, and I'd like to introduce you to my favorite video game of all time, Dusk. Back in 2018, there was this rush to make classic FPS games. After the success of Doom back in 2016, people wanted to embrace the original form of FPS games. So in that fateful year of 2018, two new FPS games were published by New Blood Interactive. Amid Evil, which was a callback to Heretic and Hexen made in the Unreal Engine. Amid Evil was really well received, and people really liked Amid Evil. Then Ion Fury was announced in 2018 as well. Then Wrath, Aeon of Ruin was announced. FPS games are returning to formula, and the most notable game made in this classic FPS renaissance was Dusk. You guys may not know what Dusk is. It's a small game made under a small publisher. It's gonna fly over most people's heads and stuff. Trust me, before you guys click off this video because you have an attention span of a fruit fly, and if you can't listen to anybody talk for less than 10 seconds, then sit in your chair and you watch this video. It's time to inject some culture into you kids. Ignore your Snapchat, your Instagram, or any notifications, and pay attention. One of the things I love about this game is the way it presents its narrative. Dusk doesn't have your traditional story like you'd be used to with a more modern game. A lot of the story is told through the environment. The enemies you face, the locations you go, the weapons you use, everything is connected in this world. I love how bits of information are told through bloody writings on the wall. So much information can be conveyed through your own interpretations, and that's what's great about art, is that your interpretations convey your own information. With just a few words, you can gain so much information on your given situation. The cult you face in Dusk are a horrifying faction of people and creatures, donning their symbols in their horrifying temples and dungeons. The creatures they have created with their sickening experiments and rituals, but you don't really know why the cult wants to kill you, and again, this is not a big issue. After all, Quake did something sorta similar where you travel across dimensions without reason for why you're killing the Shub-Niggura off, but that information is up to your own interpretation. The town of Dusk has fallen to this cult. You are playing a treasure hunter after all, so finding this horrible shit is just seemingly out of luck for you. Who is Dusk Dude? Who is Jacob? Who or what is the Nyarlathotep? These questions are never really answered, and it's up to you to come to your conclusions. And that is really cool how you can piece together your own information about these elements. The cult you face aren't just your typical strange cult, they're nefarious monsters. Part of the reason why fighting them is poignant because you have a reason to. so you can survive. My interpretation is that the character you play as, Dusk Dude, came to the town of Dusk searching for treasure since you are a treasure hunter, but the cult you came across tried to kill you by skewering you on meat hooks. But you don't like that, so it's time to fuck everything up and go on a murderous rampage. It's a callback to Blood and how Caleb joined a cult and had his friends taken away from him while he was buried alive. Then he wakes up from the grave and starts murdering literally everyone. It's a juvenile concept, but
oh my god, who the hell cares?
Dusk has a perfect narrative that is up to you to form your own interpretations, and games like No, I'm not gonna say it. Last time I said that, I got my ass kicked. Dusk is a game that just feels right, and for many reasons. For one, movement might be Dusk's strongest asset. It is the fastest shooter movement I've ever seen. And couple this with the need to be accurate all the time, it makes combat encounters really hectic and pulse-pounding. Dusk has a thing called strafe jumping. This method of movement is ridiculous. You can reach up to stupid speeds, allowing you to traverse an entire level in mere moments. You can even scale some walls with this method, and it all works. Somehow. You can even use it to get out of bounds and find secrets, so this isn't cheating. In fact, this method of strafe jumping is more accessible due to it being easier to use. You aren't stopped by anything if you hit a wall while jumping, you can just keep going, which is so much fun. You can also slide around all over the place, and somehow all that hupping doesn't get annoying at all. Just a testament to good sound design. Dusk all around has a great enemy variety, and it's not a backwards death march. Here's the thing in this game. Never, ever stop moving. If you stop, enemies will shoot you until you're dead. You don't just move in one direction either. You have to move all over the place to avoid enemy attack. And it's so fucking good. You can't take an advantage of the movement without a barrage of weapons to back you up. The weapons in this game go from good to rock my fucking face off. You start out with your basic melee weapons, the sickles. These are okay, good for busting open crates and stuff, a lot like Half-Life's crowbar, only way cooler. Next up is your standard pistol, which can be dual-wielded. They sound good, they're actually pretty useful, and they stay useful for saving bigger ammunition. Next up is the shotgun, which can also be dual-wielded, and they're reloaded by flipping them, which is so badass. Oh yeah, instead of reloading traditionally, you can just press R to twirl your guns around in the air, which can be used as a basic weak melee attack, good for opening crates and busting down boards. Next up is your super shotgun, which is probably the best super shotgun I've ever used. It sounds awesome, it does a shit ton of damage, and it's awesome. Next is the machine gun, which is a good weapon. It's a replacement for your pistols, but the pistols still have their own use. The assault rifle is just better and it sounds awesome. Then you have the hunting rifle, which is your sniping option, which you need to master this weapon while moving around because it's hard to do that. I love the hunting rifle. The next weapon is the crossbow, which is awesome. Why? Because it can shoot through walls and enemies. If a row of enemies are lined up, you can shoot through large groups of them with this weapon. It's perfect. Then we have the mortar, which is your grenade launcher. It's also remote detonation, which makes it even better. Great for shooting around corners. But then we have the rocket launcher and BFG of the game, the Riveter. This gun shoots rapid-fire explosive rivets on enemies and oh, it's so good. Bosses never last long with this weapon in your possession too. It takes practice to aim it right, but it's so OP. Then we have the sword, which is your sickle replacement, and if you have 100 health, you can charge it up to insta-kill enemies. It's awesome. It turns the strongest enemies into gibs, which of course it does. If you have 50 morale or over, you can use it to block attacks. I love the weapons of Dusk. They all sound perfect, but I've done enough of those sound demonstration in my videos, but oh my god, I can't resist. Oh yeah, and it makes that satisfying click sound when you hit enemies too, and that's so cool because instead of bullshit hit markers or points, you can hear when you hit your enemies and it's just, oh, it's orgasmic. Dusk as a game is just downright fun to play with unique weapons, enemies, and sound design, and the works. I love hunting for secrets, and while I may not find very many, the few that I did come across were rewarding to find. But what about the levels you play in? The level design in Dusk is just beyond incredible. When I first played this, I thought it was just going to be your typical Quake clone of some sort. But Dusk subverts your expectations entirely. Episode 1 is definitely the weakest. The level design here isn't that cool or exciting, it's mostly stuff we've seen before. But Episode 2 is where things kick off. The first level is huge, sprawling, an open level with tons of enemies. It gets a little overwhelming at first, but this level is so brilliantly designed that it makes my fucking brain hurt. With all these launch pads and using the hunting rifle, it's just, oh, it's so good. Then later on with the Escher Labs, oh my god, it completely knocked me out of the park. I thought it was going to be your typical linear hallway level, and I was disappointed at first, until the level completely transformed into an abstract hellhole with awesome level design and mindfuckery. Then it throws you into the Erebus reactor, the biggest level we've seen yet, and it does not fuck around. I still like it. When you step outside the compound, you realize that you've been underneath a fucking city this entire time. That is badass. Episode 2 is pretty long too. Took me up to 2 hours to finish it in 3 footage recordings. I love episode 2, but episode 3 is even better. Starting you off with a gorgeous level and then putting you in another gorgeous level. Then throwing you in another huge ass level where it's your choice to do stuff. The City of Shadows is fucking awesome, with a boss that is fought entirely underwater, but I cheese it. Then a level where you kill a bunch of monsters outside of a church and then have a fucking tornado come in and destroy the same church you were at. Did I mention that I love this game? The level Homecoming is just majestic. Come on, Dave, can I be disappointed just once? Just once, please? But no, every level in Dusk is a fucking blast to play through. Even some of the weaker ones are just awesome. Dusk's levels are also enhanced by their atmosphere. Dusk has a soundtrack made by Andrew Hulshult, and he did not disappoint. He made the music for Rise of the Triad 2013. He also made the music for Medieval, Quake Champions, Wrath, Proteus? God damn! This dude's credentials are high as fuck, and he makes the best video game music I've heard next to Mick Gordon. It's very hard to top Kelly Bailey and Marty, just saying. God damn, this dude, Andrew Hulshult is a fucking god of the musical gods. Dusk has a soundtrack unlike anything I've ever heard. His work shines in even some of the earlier levels. The level Old Time Religion, his song Ashes to Ashes, Dusk to Dusk, is one of the small highlights of the ambient music. Have a listen. That song is just a fraction of the music. My favorite ambient song in this entire game is called Beautiful Blasphemy. Have a listen. Jesus Christ, that is just... oh my god, that song is beautiful. Appropriate title, Andrew. His ambient music isn't the entire soundtrack like the game Quake. The music reacts dynamically with the level and what's going on screen. If it's a quiet moment, ambient music plays. If it's getting hectic, a more aggressive song will play. Take the song Death from Above as an example. Notice how it starts off slow and stays slow until the combat kicks off. Let's continue this track. See, it sets the mood and is a kick-ass song to boot. What about the penultimate level of Dusk, where it plays a song titled Keepers of the Gate? I'm not going to play it, because that's a song you need to hear for yourself. If you've already heard it, then it's an awesome song. I could go on and on about this music, because it's so goddamn brilliant. The music isn't just the only part of the atmosphere. Plenty of levels in Dusk are dark and dreary. E2M2, you enter an empty place filled with corpses, and then you enter a dark pit. You can only see what your flashlight lights up. I hate the amount of light your flashlight illuminates. It's annoying that I can't tweak that. But you walk down the dark hallway and find a message written in blood. Don't trust your eyes. You hear breathing down your neck. And then you react. This creature is the Wendigo, and I love fighting it. What about E3M4, where you enter a dark basement and what the fuck is that? Kids, meet the horrors. These enemies are fucking terrifying and I love them. The only annoying enemies in this game are the fish. When you kill the horrors without jibbing them, you can hear a crunch as they snap their bones back, which is just, it's so fucked up. After slaughtering every last cultist and foe across dimensions, what do you get at the end? A duel with a worthy opponent just like yourself. A perfect test of all your skills you've learned up to this point. And once you take him down, you are given one final test.
He was worthy, you know, and he accomplished so much. But then, you came along. You who were stronger. You who were faster. You I like better. Who did you expect at the end of all this? God? The devil, perhaps? No. It's just me.
The real final boss, the Nyarlathotep, is testing you of your worthiness, but in the end, you don't even kill it. He just surrenders his power to you, and the things he says are unsettling, but I don't want to spoil those lines. Well, that was Dusk. Sorry this video was shorter than usual. Dusk isn't a game you can analyze for 30 minutes about the gameplay, because it's pretty simple, but as you may know, I love Dusk. It is my favorite first-person shooter, and it's really good. If you like first-person shooters, then at least give this game a shot. I didn't really want to spoil that much. That also explains the video's length, because this game is an experience that you should really experience for yourself. So anyways, thank you for watching this video. This has been Skeptical Rowan. Peace out.